Hello and welcome. I am LT Volk, and in today's video, I'll give you an overview of the builds for my Honor Mode primary party. It consists of my Lore Bard, Radiant Orb build Shadowheart, Magic Missile build Gale, and a Throwzerker Karlach. Now, I do occasionally swap in other companions for story-related reasons, but for great majority of the encounters, this is the party that I use. The builds synergize really well with each other in my opinion, and work great with my playstyle. For the remainder of the video, we'll take a look at each party member, their role, and standout abilities, skills, and equipment. So without further ado, let's jump straight into it, starting with my main character, Bard. I play a human College of Lore Bard, which is in my opinion, one of the strongest classes for Honor Mode main character. The expertise and the charisma skills allows you to skip a large portion of dangerous or tedious encounters, while the expertise and sleight of hand allows you to deal with most locks and traps that you'll encounter. My Bard's primary combat role is utilizing his crowd control spells to debuff the enemies, wreck their action economy, and to counterspell enemy casters. When not doing that, he uses twin crossbows or some of the non-concentration spells to do decent damage. He is also the recipient of most of the elithid tadpoles to increase the threshold at which called the weak procs. The ability scores are pretty straightforward. The dex is at 8, but is set to 18 through the use of gloves of dexterity. The constitution is at 16 to help maintain concentration on the spells. Wisdom is at 14 to help resist some of the nastier spells. And charisma is set to 20 as the primary casting stat. And we get there by using Ethel's Scalp and an ASI feat. For the feats, I take Lucky as my first feat, which allows you to roll conversation checks with advantage 3 times per long rest, and has a situational use in combat. This combined with the high charisma skills makes passing most checks a breeze. The second feat is ASI, to get charisma all the way to 20. The final feat is Warcaster, which even further improves the Bard's ability to maintain concentration on the spells. Moving on to gear. The Helm of Arcane Acuity gives you 2 turns of Arcane Acuity whenever you deal damage to an enemy with a weapons attack. So the way it would work, my Bard would fire off an offhand crossbow to damage the enemy, and then follow up with one of the control spells, which are now more difficult to resist. The Cloak of Protection gives you +1 bonus to AC and your saving throws. Elegant Studded Leather gives you +2 bonus to your initiative rolls, and gives you a shield reaction spell as well. I already talked about Gloves of Dexterity, which set your dex to 18 and give you +1 bonus to your attack rolls. Disintegrating Nightwalkers make it so you can't be enwebbed, entangled, or ensnared, and can't slip on grease or ice, and gives you a Misty Step bonus spell as well. The Amulet of Misty Step gives you a second bonus Misty Step spell. Killer Sweetheart makes it so when you kill a creature, your next attack roll will be a critical hit, which works great with arrows of many target. Strange Conduit Ring gives you a 1d4 bonus to your weapon attacks whenever you're concentrating on a spell, and you should always be concentrating on spells as a bard. Moving on to weapons, we have Falar Aluve, mainly for its special abilities Sing and Shriek, and Catharic's Shield, which gives you +1 bonus to your spell save DC and attack rolls, making your spells even more difficult to resist. For the ranged weapons, we have Near Misser, which deals force damage, and gives you a bonus upcast magic missile. Hellfire hand crossbow is just an offhand crossbow that gives you a bonus Scorching Ray spell. Next, let's talk about the spells. The bards have access to a variety of great control spells, such as Dissonant Whispers, Sleep, Hold Person, Plant Growth, Fear, Confusion, Hold Monster, Planar Binding, and Otto's Irresistible Dance. In addition, I pick up some utility and damage spells, such as Healing Word, Longstrider, Blindness, Glyph of Warding, and Greater Invisibility. Finally, lore bards have access to 4 spells from any other caster through magic secrets, and I pick up Hunger of Hadar, which is one of the best, if not the best, control spells in the game, and Counterspell at level 6, and Conjure Elemental and Banishing Smite at level 10. Next up is Shadowheart. Her combat role is stacking Radiant Orbs on the enemies and providing limited buffing and healing capability to the party. The Radiant Orbs are a great debuff. For every single Radiant Orb that the enemy has, they suffer -1 penalty to their attack rolls. For my playthrough, I made her a Knowledge Domain Cleric, but in my opinion it doesn't really matter which domain you pick for this build. Her ability scores are Strength, Dex, and Con at 14, Wisdom is at 20, and you get there by getting 2 ASI feats, and Charisma is at 9. For the feats, I'll take Alert as her first feat, which grants +5 bonus to initiative and makes it so she can't be surprised. This all but guarantees that she's gonna go first in combat. Her second and third feats I use to pump up her Wisdom all the way to 20. For the gear, I give her Haste Helm, which gives her bonus to her movement speed, Cloak of Displacement, which makes her more difficult to hit, Luminous Armor and Luminous Gloves to stack the Radiant Orbs with her Radiant damage, Boots of Speed, which has a bonus action Click Heals, which doubles her movement, Amulet of Restoration for bonus Healing Word and Mass Healing Word spells, and the Whispering Promise, which gives Bless condition to the allies that she heals. And finally, the Crusher's Ring, which even further increases her movement speed. For the weapons, she has the Blood of Lathander for the Sunbeam, and Viconia's Walking Fortress, mainly for the Spells Guard. Let's take a look at the spells. While clerics can learn and prepare a large variety of spells, late game, I only use a few of them. Spirit Guardians, Guiding Bolt, and Flame Strike for the source of radiant damage for her Radiant Orbs. Mass Healing Word to cast Bless with the bonus action on the entire party. And then Enhance Ability and Guidance for out of combat help for my character. Additionally, after every long rest, I use Hero's Feast to buff up the entire party. The rest of the spells, I hardly ever use. Gale's combat role is doing reliable damage through the use of Magic Missile, debuffing the enemies by stacking Radiant Orbs with his Magic Missile, and counterspelling enemy casters. Gale's ability scores are fairly straightforward with 16 Dex, 14 Con, 20 Intelligence, and 12 Wisdom. Just like Shadowheart, I take Alert as Gale's first feat, and then use 2 ASIs to get his Intelligence all the way to 20. The gear for this build is a lot less specific than for the other ones. You'll need the Spell Sparkler, which adds electric charges when you use Magic Missile, Psychic Spark, that adds an extra dart to your Magic Missile spell, and Coruscation Ring, which adds radiant orbs to the enemies that are hit with his magic missiles when he is illuminated by light, which is almost always. Additionally, I tend to equip the Sparks Wall and the Water Sparkers to increase the amount of electric charges he can generate per round. The rest of the gear is really up to you. Let's take a look at the spellbook. Just like Shadowheart, Gale uses only a limited amount of spells. Mage Armor increases his AC and is cast after every long rest. Shield is a great reaction spell to have in your back pocket. Magic Missile is Gale's primary damage spell. Counterspell allows him to shut down other casters. Haste allows him to haste an ally and give him an extra action, and it's usually used on the casters due to the changes in honor mode to the action economy. Conjure Minor Elemental and Conjure Elemental I use to summon extra help, which can be used as tanks or to disrupt the enemies. And finally, I have this Globe of Invulnerability prepared that's going to be useful in a later fights. Last but not least is Karlach's Throwzerker multiclass. It's a level 5 Berserker to get your second attack, level 3 Thief to get an extra bonus action, and level 4 Champion Fighter to get an action surge, a feat, and also to lower the threshold for your critical hit. Her primary combat role is doing a lot of damage really quickly and proning enemies with her frenzied throw. For ability scores, her strength is at 22 through the use of Tavern Brawler, ASI, and Potion of Everlasting Vigor. Dex is at 14 and Con is at 16. For the feats, Tavern Brawler is a must, as it doubles the strength bonus for the purpose of attacks and damage with her thrown weapons. An ASI can be helpful to get her strength all the way to 20. The must-have equipment for this build includes Gloves of Uninhibited Kushigo, which add 1d4 damage to her throw attacks, the Ring of Flaining, which adds an additional 1d4 damage to her throws, and Caustic Band, which adds 2 acid damage to all her attacks. She tends to throw the Returning Pike, which returns to her after every throw, and can be upgraded to Norilna, which does the same, but also has 3d4 thunder damage AoE centered around the target that she attacks. Additionally, I equipped the Bow of Awareness for a small bonus to her initiative rolls, and the Sergeant Subjugation Amulet, which allows her to paralyze a target she critically hits. Karlach doesn't really have any spells, but I do give her a couple illithid abilities, including Luck of the Far Realms, Favorable Beginning, and Psionic Overload. And that, as they say, is that. Thank you for watching.